Thank you guys so much for having me today. And it's an honor and a privilege to share my journey with you. So as she said, I'm Amanda Lee Pitzer, and I wrote The Relieved Widow, which is on the back table somewhere. Please take a copy if you know of somebody that also might benefit. Please take a copy for them as well. So today's theme is when the story restarts, and it delves into the process of navigating life after experiencing a significant loss. It's a concept that speaks to the heart of how we rebuild and reimagine our lives when the world as we know it has been irrevocably changed. Before I delve into the heart of my story, I want to acknowledge that the space that we occupy today is marked with hardship, but also of resilience. We live in a world where loss is usually masked by a veneer of normalcy. Suicide in particular is shrouded in silence and stigma. A silence can be deafening to those left behind. When my husband died by suicide, I was thrust into a reality that I was not prepared for. The initial shock was not just about loss, but also about the intense confusion and isolation that followed. It felt as though the world had suddenly become a place where the rules that I knew no longer applied. Grief was compounded by this disorienting mix of emotions: sadness, guilt, anger, and yes, relief. Relief might seem like an odd emotion to experience in the wake of such tragedy. It's a complicated feeling tied to the relief of no longer being in the throes of a marriage that was marred by profound emotional trauma. It was also relief from the incessant struggle of trying to save someone who was beyond my reach. These conflicting feelings were hard to reconcile, and even harder still to share with others who just did not understand the complexity of this type of loss. Experiencing the death of a loved one, particularly through suicide, thrusts us into an unfamiliar and bewildering territory. It's as if we are thrust into a new and uncharted landscape where all the familiar structures and routines of our lives have been upended. In my book, I describe the disorientation and the profound grief that I felt in the immediate aftermath of his death. The world seemed to lose color and texture, and I found myself struggling to navigate this new, desolate terrain. This unfamiliar landscape is a significant part of what makes the process of restarting so incredibly challenging. This loss feels like a deep, gaping wound, and it's easy to become overwhelmed by the sheer magnitude of the void that's been left behind. It's important to recognize that this unfamiliar territory is not just about the absence of a person, but about the upheaval of our own sense of identity and security. One of the most complex aspects of this grief was the paradox that relief can also accompany it. This was a revelation that took me a long time to understand and accept. After his death, I would experience these moments of relief, a sensation that really seemed to contradict the overwhelming sadness I also felt. There was relief that his suffering had ended, as well as a relief from the constant anxiety and turmoil that had characterized our home for so many years. This relief was not a sign of insensitivity or of a lack of love. Rather, it's a reflection of the multifaceted nature of grief. It highlights the complexity of human emotion and the struggle to reconcile these complicated feelings. Acknowledging and embracing these emotions is crucial for a full and authentic grieving process. It's about understanding that both relief and sadness can coexist, and both are valid aspects of our experiences. So when does the story restart? After the immediate aftermath of loss, life goes on. For everyone else, after the funeral is over and loved ones return home, the world continues to turn, and we're faced with the daunting task of piecing together a new existence. The restarting of this story is not about erasing the past, but trying to figure out how to integrate it into a new narrative that now reflects new growth and transformation. The process of restarting involves several stages: acceptance, adaptation, and renewal. Acceptance is coming to terms with the new reality and acknowledging that changes have occurred. Adaptation is the process of adjusting to this new reality, finding new ways of living, and creating new routines and meanings. Renewal is about finding hope and purpose once again, despite all of these challenges. For me, the story restarted in unexpected ways. It involved confronting deep-seated fears reevaluating my own identity, and finding new ways to connect with others. It also required embracing the uncertainty and complexity of life in a way that I had never done before. One of the most profound lessons that I learned from my experience is the power of being vulnerable. In a world that often values strength and stoicism, admitting our weakness and our pain can feel like a radical act. Yet it's through this vulnerability that we find connection with others and new strength. When I began to open up about my experience, I was met with unexpected support and understanding. Sharing my story allowed others to see beyond the surface and recognize the depth of the struggle that accompanies suicide loss. It also allowed me to connect with others who had experienced similar losses, creating a new community of shared understanding and mutual support. Vulnerability also means to allow ourselves to feel and express our emotions fully. It's about embracing the full spectrum of our experiences, from the darkest moments to the moments of unexpected joy. And acknowledging and sharing these emotions, we begin to heal and see things in a new light. The restart of our stories often requires us to find new narratives that fit our changed reality. In the wake of profound loss, we are often left grappling with a new sense of self and identity. In my book, I delve into how I had to reconstruct my sense of who I was and what life was going to look like moving forward. Finding a new narrative involves redefining our goals, roles, and aspirations. It requires us to confront the reality of our changed circumstance and envision a future that is much different than what we had previously imagined. This process is deeply personal and can be both liberating and daunting. It involves asking ourselves questions like, what do I want my life to be now? What passions or dreams have been sidelined that now I can revisit? For me, this journey involved exploring new interests and activities that I hadn't even considered before, like today. It meant stepping aside out of my comfort zone and allowing myself to grow in new ways that I had never anticipated. My new narrative was about how to integrate my past into my new revised vision of my future. One of the most profound lessons that I learned during my journey was the importance of embracing the unexpected. When our stories restart, they often take unexpected turns, leading us to places and experiences that we never could have foreseen. This can be exciting and unsettling, especially coming from a recovering type A personality. Embracing the unexpected involves being open to change and remaining curious about the new opportunities that arise. It's about letting go of rigid expectations and being willing to explore new possibilities. In my own life, this meant being open to new relationships, career paths, and personal growth opportunities. It also meant accepting that not everything was going to go according to plan and learning to find joy in the spontaneity of life, which is something I had never done before. For instance, I found some of the most rewarding experiences came from situations I hadn't planned for. By embracing the unexpected developments, I was able to discover new aspects of myself and find fulfillment in ways I hadn't even imagined. Building resilience is a vital part of restarting our stories. Resilience, or the ability to adapt and recover, it's about finding strength to continue moving forward despite the challenges that come our way. In my book, I discuss the ways in which resilience became a cornerstone of my journey. Resilience is not about ignoring or minimizing pain, but about developing strategies to cope and find new ways to move forward. For me, building resilience involved creating a new support network, engaging in self-care, and setting realistic yet achievable goals. It also meant I could finally acknowledge the strength that I had and my own ability to overcome the obstacles that came my way. It's a dynamic process, and it evolves over time. It requires us to be patient with ourselves and recognize that healing and growth are gradual. It's about celebrating the small victories and learning to navigate setbacks with both grace and determination. A significant aspect of restarting our stories is finding new sources of purpose and meaning. After a profound loss, it's natural to question the purpose of our lives and seek new ways to find fulfillment. For me, finding purpose meant exploring new interests, setting new goals, and engaging in activities that aligned with my newly found values and passions. It meant revisiting dreams that I set aside and finding new ways to contribute to the causes that mattered to me. Finding purpose is a deeply personal journey, and it may involve revisiting old dreams or rediscovering new passions. It's about creating a life that feels meaningful and aligned with our core values. This process requires self-reflection and a willingness to explore new possibilities. Finally, moving forward with hope is a crucial part of restarting our stories. Hope is not about denying the reality of our loss, but believing in the possibility of a brighter future. It's about holding on to the belief that despite the challenges, life can still offer us joy, purpose, and connection. I discuss how hope became a guiding light in my journey. It was the belief that even in the darkest moments, there was a potential for growth and renewal. Hope is a powerful force that can sustain us through difficult times and inspire us to continue moving forward each day. Hope is about maintaining a positive outlook and believing the possibility of positive change. It's about finding those reasons to move forward and believe that life can still hold that meaning and joy, even after profound loss. In closing, I just want to emphasize that when the story restarts, it is an opportunity for transformation and renewal. My book is a testament to the fact that even in the face of profound loss, we have the capacity to reinvent our lives and find those new sources of meaning. Restarting our stories is not about forgetting the past, but about integrating it into new chapters. It's about embracing the unexpected, building resilience, and finding hope in the midst of the adversity that we face. It's about creating new narratives that honor both our past and our future. Thank you.